In a small sunlit kitchen, with wooden counters worn smooth by decades of use and the faint, comforting scent of herbs lingering in the air, my grandmother's presence seemed almost tangible, even though she had passed many years ago. I can still hear the soft rhythm of her voice, a gentle cadence that made even the most complicated instructions feel effortless, and her hands, though aged and lined, moved with the certainty of someone who had spent a lifetime understanding the language of food and health. Grandma's recipes and health tips were more than instructions for nourishment. They were stories, rituals, and little acts of love passed down through generations. Her kitchen was her sanctuary, a place where warmth and wisdom intertwined, where the simmer of a pot could carry with it centuries of experience, and where every ingredient had a purpose beyond mere flavor. One of the things I remember most vividly was her collection of homemade syrups for immunity. Long before the world became aware of viral threats and seasonal colds, she had her own arsenal of remedies crafted from nature's bounty. Each syrup was a carefully balanced symphony of ingredients, designed not only to soothe and heal but also to fortify the body against ailments. She never relied on medicine alone. She believed in empowering the body, strengthening it from within, a philosophy that she articulated through her creations, one spoonful at a time. Among her most revered concoctions was the honey with propolis and lemon, a remedy she swore by for coughs and to strengthen immunity. The recipe, she insisted, was simple yet transformative, and she would often repeat it as if chanting a sacred mantra: honey with propolis and lemon, nature as gift for the throat, the heart, and the spirit. Propolis, a resin collected by bees, was her secret hero. She would explain, with meticulous care, how bees imbued it with natural antimicrobial properties, making it a formidable ally in the fight against sickness. When combined with honey, which itself carried antibacterial and soothing qualities, and the bright, cleansing zest of lemon, the syrup became a powerful elixir, capable of calming the harshest of coughs and fortifying the body's defenses. I can remember sitting at her kitchen table, a small wooden stool beneath me, watching her hands work with an artistry that was both precise and intuitive. She would slice lemons with care, the aroma releasing into the air like sunlight captured in scent. She'd stir honey and propolis together, the golden liquid catching the light, and whisper stories of how she had learned these remedies from her own mother, who had learned from her mother before her. Each gesture was deliberate, each ingredient imbued with intention. "It's not just about mixing things together," she would say. "It is about honoring the medicine that nature gives us and respecting the wisdom of our bodies." Her recipes were never rushed. In a world increasingly obsessed with speed and efficiency, she moved at the pace of the seasons, letting the ingredients speak for themselves. She believed that the healing process, much like cooking, required patience. To make the honey with propolis and lemon, she insisted, one must not only combine the ingredients but also infuse them with intention. "The heart matters as much as the hands," she would say, pressing a teaspoon of honey into a small jar, her eyes twinkling with quiet authority. She taught me that the act of preparing a remedy was itself a form of care, a moment to pause, reflect, and connect with the rhythms of life. Beyond the practical benefits of her syrups, there was a profound philosophy embedded in every recipe she shared. Grandma believed that health was holistic, that the body, mind, and spirit were inextricably linked. To treat a cough or a cold, she argued, was not merely to combat the symptoms, but to nurture the entire person. Her remedies were infused with warmth, patience, and mindfulness, qualities that, she insisted, could not be found in store-bought medicine. Every sip of her honey, propolis, and lemon syrup was a reminder that health was not a commodity to be purchased, but a practice to be cultivated, a daily act of reverence for one's body. I began to appreciate the depth of her wisdom more as I grew older, especially during the harsh winters when colds and flu swept through our town with relentless regularity. While my peers would rush to the pharmacy for quick fixes, I would return to her kitchen, guided by memory and instinct, and recreate her remedies. The process was comforting, almost meditative. I would squeeze lemons, the tart scent filling the air, stir the viscous honey with careful attention, and add propolis in measured amounts, remembering her words, her hands, her laughter. There was a rhythm to it, a dance between intention and action, and by the time the syrup was ready, it was as if a protective shield had been crafted, invisible yet potent. What struck me most was not just the efficacy of her remedies, but the lessons they carried about life itself. Grandma's recipes were not merely instructions, they were metaphors. To prepare the honey with propolis and lemon was to embrace patience, precision, and mindfulness. To follow her health tips was to honor the body, listen to its needs, and respect the natural world. She taught that care, whether for oneself or for others, required attentiveness, thoughtfulness, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. In every drop of syrup there was a lesson, that healing is an act of love, that nourishment extends beyond the body, and that wisdom, once learned, is a gift to be shared generously. As I matured, I began to explore and expand upon her teachings. I experimented with variations of her syrups, incorporating additional herbs and spices, yet always maintaining the essence of her philosophy: simplicity, efficacy, and intention. I realized that her genius lay not in the complexity of her recipes, but in their adaptability, their grounding in natural principles, and their ability to evoke comfort and care. Friends and family would come to me during times of illness, and I would prepare the syrup, guided by memory and love, watching as their faces softened with relief, much like the many faces that had once looked to my grandmother for solace. The stories she told while preparing these remedies were as crucial as the recipes themselves. She spoke of ancestors who had walked the forests and fields, gathering herbs and learning their properties through observation and experience. She recounted tales of long winters, of neighbors who came together to share remedies, and of the unspoken understanding that health was a communal responsibility. Her kitchen was more than a physical space. It was a nexus of heritage, wisdom, and care, where every ingredient carried a lineage and every recipe was a bridge to the past. One of the most remarkable aspects of her approach was how she intertwined flavor with function. She understood that medicine, to be truly effective, needed to be pleasant, a delight to the senses. The honey with propolis and lemon, for example, was not only healing, but comforting. The sweetness of honey counterbalanced the tartness of lemon, while the subtle earthiness of propolis grounded the mixture. Each sip was a gentle reassurance, a tactile reminder that the act of caring for oneself could also be an act of enjoyment. In this way, her recipes taught a profound lesson: that health need not be a sacrifice, that wellness and pleasure could coexist harmoniously. Even today, as I prepare her remedies in my own kitchen, I feel her presence. I feel her patience, her love, and her unwavering belief in the power of nature and intention. The honey with propolis and lemon, once a simple childhood memory, has become a ritual of connection to her, to my ancestors, and to the enduring wisdom of generations. Every batch I make carries with it her voice, her hands, and the timeless lessons she imparted. And every time I share it with someone in need, I am reminded that her legacy is not confined to the past. It lives on, alive and potent, in the act of care itself. Grandma's recipes and health tips were more than just practical guidance. They were invitations to live mindfully, to respect the rhythms of the body and nature, and to approach life with love and intention. The homemade syrups for immunity, particularly the honey with propolis and lemon, exemplify this philosophy in their simplest and most profound form. They remind us that the wisdom of the past holds value in the present, that healing is both an art and a science, and that every act of care, no matter how small, has the power to ripple outward, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. In reflecting on her teachings, I have come to see that health, much like love, is an accumulation of small, deliberate acts. It is in the quiet moments of preparation, in the careful selection of ingredients, in the attention to detail, and in the intention we infuse into our actions. Grandma's kitchen was her classroom, her sanctuary, and her legacy. And through her recipes, particularly the honey with propolis and lemon, I continue to learn, practice, and share the wisdom she so lovingly imparted. Her voice, soft yet insistent, guides my hands and heart, reminding me that to care for others is the highest form of knowledge, and that the simplest remedies often carry the deepest truths. Even now, as I stir honey with propolis and lemon into a small jar, the golden liquid catching the sunlight streaming through my kitchen window, I feel a profound sense of continuity. I am part of a chain that stretches across generations, a chain forged by hands, hearts, and the quiet insistence that we nurture, heal, and protect one another. Grandma's wisdom was never just about recipes or remedies. It was about life itself, and in every spoonful, in every shared drop of syrup, her legacy endures, a timeless reminder that care, love, and intention are the truest medicines we can offer, both to ourselves and to the world around us.